I was creating a hair model and I made some Photoshop brushes to paint the transparency map of the hair cap with, and I thought I might as well record my process to texture a transparency map while I'm at it, so you can look over my shoulder how I tackle this creative routine. If you are new to my channel, you are very welcome. And if you've been here before, super cool. And I'm happy to have you here again. Without any further ado, I'm gonna jump right in showing you the Photoshop brushes I have made especially to paint transparency maps. The 10 hairy brushes can also be used to texture shaved heads, beard stubble, and chest hair, or paint fur, for example. My goal is to create a natural hairline with lifelike roots. The changing of the scatter options can make the hairs more or less sparse, and changing the count can increase or decrease the density of the hairs. When using hair brushes, you can texture the cap transparency in roughly half an hour. Depending on the hair model style, a transparency map can be very important to achieve a natural result. For example, a hair with a parting needs to be fine-tuned so the blend between the mesh strands and the cap trans map is seamless and not too noticeable. A hairstyle with a tight bun has a lot of root showing on the hairline. This sort of hairstyles are difficult to get realistic and require optimal eye for detail. There are two things I need to figure out before I actually can start painting. First, I need to know the exact positioning of the hairline. I cannot go inside Photoshop and guess where the hair roots live. It needs to be spot on. In order to get that information, I spent time to make myself a flow guide. That is not an official term or anything, just a name I use for it. The flow guide shows two things: the roots and the direction the hair flows. I start with the root guide. I load the cap and the hair inside ZBrush, and onto the cap I paint a thick red line to indicate where the roots start. The easiest way to see the roots is to paint on the inside of the cap. Secondly, to determine the flow, I paint blue lines that follow the direction how the hair is pulled back. The result is a flow guide I export out and import into Photoshop to use as a template for painting. I start with a new layer and paint with one brush in the direction of the blue lines, and stop when I hit the red root border. I make several layers that way, each with a different brush to get a bit of a variation. If I messed up and went over the border, I clean it up in a layer mask. Sometimes I flip the Y of the brush to match the curve according to the shape. And the shortcut R is really convenient to rotate the canvas, and I swap with shortcut B to access the brush. These 10 hairbrushes can be downloaded by my Patreon family. If you are interested in these or other 2D, 3D content nibbles I make available to my patrons, you are very welcome to check out my Patreon page. It's patreon.com/biscuits3d. If you found my video helpful, you can subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified when I upload new content. Thank you for watching.